So, second year Bcom Computer Applications, semester 4, Object Oriented Programming in C++, Object Oriented Programming in C++, and first year BA Computer Applications, semester 2, Programming in C++, and first year BSc, that is first year BZCA Computer Applications, semester 2, Programming in C++. సో సి ప్లస్ ప్లస్ అండ్ ఊప్స్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ మనం లాస్ట్ క్లాస్లో కూడా చెప్పుకున్నాము. ఇదంతా రివిజన్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ దీస్ థింగ్స్. మనకి ఎగ్జామ్స్ ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి. సో వేరియబుల్స్, వాట్ ఆర్ వేరియబుల్స్ నుంచి మనం ఒక్కసారి చెప్పుకుందాము. సో వేరియబుల్ ఈజ్ ఏ నేమ్డ్ లొకేషన్. వేరియబుల్ ఈజ్ జనరల్లీ యూజ్డ్ టు స్టోర్ సమ్ values in it. Generally variables are generally used to store some values in it, like different data types or data items like integers, short integers, unsigned integers, characters, strings, like that. Variable is nothing but it generally varies its value during program execution. సో ఇది మనకి సింపుల్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ అంటే C++లో సింపుల్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఇది. హ్యాష్ ఇంక్లూడ్ ఐఓ స్ట్రీమ్ ఆర్ హ్యాష్ ఇంక్లూడ్ ఐఓ స్ట్రీమ్ .h, స్లాష్ అంటే కామెంట్స్. మనకి C++లో స్లాష్ అంటే కామెంట్స్ ఆర్ రిమార్క్స్. అండ్ ఇంట్ మెయిన్, నెక్స్ట్ బ్రాకెట్ ఓపెన్, నెక్స్ట్ ఈజ్ ఇంట్ a ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు 5 and a is equals to a plus b, like that. Cout and cin, input output functions. C++లో మనకి 2 స్టాండర్డ్ ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ ఫంక్షన్స్ ఉంటాయి, cout and cin. Cout is the standard output function to display or print some values on the screen, and cin is the standard input function to display to accept some values from the users. సో ఈ రెండు కూడా మనకి cout అండ్ cin అనేవి స్టాండర్డ్ ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ ఫంక్షన్స్. సో ఇది సింపుల్ ప్రోగ్రామ్. కాన్స్టెంట్, వాట్ ఈస్ ఏ కాన్స్టెంట్? ఏ కాన్స్టెంట్ ఈజ్ ఏ ఫిక్స్డ్ వాల్యూ. ఇట్ డజంట్ చేంజ్ ఇట్స్ వాల్యూ డ్యూరింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్. స్ట్రీమ్ బేస్డ్ ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్స్. వాట్ ఆర్ స్ట్రీమ్ బేస్డ్? స్ట్రీమ్స్ మీన్స్ ఫైల్స్. సిలో మనకి ఫైల్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉంటుంది, C++లో స్ట్రీమ్స్ అనే కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉంటుంది. సో స్ట్రీమ్ బేస్డ్ ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ ఫంక్షన్స్ ఉంటాయి మనకి. ఆల్ ఆపరేషన్స్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా మనకి stream.h అనే హెడర్ ఫైల్లో మనకి స్టోర్ అయి ఉంటాయి, లేదా stream.h హెడర్ ఫైల్ ఉంటుంది, లేదా స్ట్రీమ్ హ్యాష్ ఇంక్లూడ్ stream.h అనే హెడర్ ఫైల్ మనం యూజ్ చేయాలి టు యూజ్ ఆల్ దీస్ ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ ఫంక్షన్స్. So basically C++ streams are two types: output streams and input streams. Output stream performs write operations on output devices. అంటే అవుట్పుట్ స్ట్రీమ్స్ అనేవి మనకి ఏదైనా మనకి టు డిస్ప్లే ఆర్ సంథింగ్ ఆర్ టు ప్రింట్ సంథింగ్ ఆన్ ద స్క్రీన్. వెరాజ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఏంటి? cout లెస్ దెన్ వేరియబుల్. ఇన్పుట్ స్ట్రీమ్ అనేది టు డిస్ప్లే something on the screen or to accept some data or information from the user is called as input streams అంటాం. అంటే ఇన్పుట్ యూజ్ చేయడానికి cin అనేది వాడతాము. ఈ రెండు కూడా స్ట్రీమ్స్. స్ట్రీమ్ ఈజ్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ ఫైల్స్. ఈ రెండు కూడా మనకి ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ ఫైల్సే, మనకి ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ ఆపరేషన్సే cin and cout. సో ఇన్పుట్ స్ట్రీమ్స్ మీన్స్ జనరల్లీ దే ఆర్ యూజ్డ్ టు పెర్ఫార్మ్ రీడ్ ఆపరేషన్స్ విత్ ఇన్పుట్ డివైజెస్. అంటే ఇన్పుట్ డివైజెస్ యూజ్ చేసి, అంటే మనకి కీబోర్డ్ లేదా మౌస్ ఆర్ సంథింగ్ మనము ఏదైనా ప్రింట్ చేయడానికి లేదా రీడ్ చేయడానికి యూజ్ చేస్తాము. cin అనేది వాడతాం. సింటాక్స్ ఈజ్ cin greater than age, cin greater than name greater than age. ఎగ్జాంపుల్. సో what are the different types of operators? What are the different types of operators available in C++? So operators మనకి తెలుసు, different types of operators are we may use in C and C++. So what are operators? Logical operators and relational operators and arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators means plus, minus, star, slash, like that. Logical operators are and or not, and relational operators are less than, greater than, less than or equals to, greater than or equals to, like that. And binary operators are plus, plus, minus, minus, like that. So there are many different types of operators are used. So arrays, what is array? Array is a nothing but it is a collection of different data items. Array is nothing but it is a collection of different data items, similar data items which are stored in continuous manner. So this is a simple example of creating an arrays in C++. So short some hours of 6, like that, C out and C in, like that. Array initialization. So how to initialize arrays in C++? So int a of 5 means 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and int b of 20 means like that, int c of 4 means like that. So initializing. So next is initializing allocated memory, dynamic memory allocation and new operator and delete operator. So you can initialize allocated memory to some unknown value by putting an initialization after the type name in new statement. Here is the general form of the new. So how to use new? Some variable is equals to new of some data type, brackets, initializer. So basically arrays are of two types, a single dimensional array and two dimensional arrays. So single dimensional arrays have only one value in it, and two dimensional arrays have two subscripts or two values in it. First is called as rows and second one is called as columns. In single dimensional arrays we may use only one subscript or one variable, whereas in two dimensional arrays we may use two subscripts or two variables. This is the array program. So classes, main concepts of C++ starts with classes. So what are classes? Objects and methods, and all we are starting with here. So class. A class is a group of objects that share common properties and behavior or relationship. In fact, objects are the variables of the type class. After creating class, one can create any number of related objects with the class. Classes are user defined data types and behaves like the built-in types of programming languages. So what is a class? A class is a group of objects that share common properties and behavior and relationships. In fact, objects are the variables of the cell. What are objects? Objects are the instances of the class, or copies of the class, or instances of the class. So after creating class, one can create any number of related objects with that class. So after creating the class, we may create objects or mirrors or instances of the class by using object class or a class definition. So classes are user defined data types and behaves like the built-in types of programming language. So classes are generally used to store varieties of data types or different data types with variety of data or information to be stored in it. So this is the example of class program. So hash include iostream.h, class my class 1, some private public and protected. So this is the definition of a class. How to create a class, or how to what is the definition? Class definition means hash include iostream.h. Next, class, some class name, brackets. Generally classes are defined outside the main program. Generally classes are defined outside the main program. So class name. There are three types of data members. Usually three types of members are used. They are called as member functions or member data types. What are they? Private, public and protected. Private, public and protected. Public means they can be accessed anywhere of the class, means they can be accessed within the class and from the methods. And private means they can be used or they can be accessed within the class definition only, within the class definition or member definition only. Whereas protected means they can be purely protected. That is, protected means one of the data protection, that is protected means one of the data properties of the classes is protection. So protection, by protection we may protect some data or information with protected class. So these are three types of classes. One is the private, public and protected. So this is the, and every class have different parts in it. Every class have a unique class name, and every class have some methods or functions in it. Every class have some methods or functions in it, and all the method definition and class definitions are generally used or declared within the class itself. So this is the continuation of the my class program. So void date, and so void main and class. How to declare classes and objects? How to declare classes and objects? So class or class name, some class name space object name, object 1 comma object 2 comma object 3, and object 1 dot some method name, object 1 dot some method name. So this is the simple program to use, or how to use classes and methods in the object oriented programming language. So this is another class example. So class diagram of employees class. Class diagram of employees class means how to create an employee class using like that. So class, some class name as employees, some data members are name, department, designation, basic, and what are the functions? Functions are some set BP and total sal deductions like that. So this is the example for creating a class, employee class, with data members like name, department, designation and basic, name, department, designation and basic, and functions of different types like set, basic pay and total salary and deductions. So abstraction. So another important feature of C++ or object oriented programming language is abstraction. It refers to the act of representing essential features without including the background details or explanations. Examples so what is another important concept is encapsulation. Encapsulation means only relevant details are exposed, or relevant details are exposed, and the rest are hidden. Means that is the concept of, another concept of that C++ or object oriented programming, that is data security. Example is departmental data, ATM, cash counter and waving machines like that. Encapsulation is a way to implement data abstraction. Encapsulation is a way to implement data abstraction. Modularity. Modularity means to write the programs or parts of programs in modules. The act of participating a program into individual components, that is into a set of cohesive and loosely coupled modules. Inheritance, another important feature of C++ is inheritance. Inheritance is the capability of one class of things to inherit properties from other class. Means in inheritance there are we may create other classes, or we may create other classes by using some base class or by using some parent class. So parent from parent classes only we may create other classes and children classes. So supports the concept of hierarchical classification and ensures the closeness with real world models and provides multiple access specifier sectors, supports reusability. So by using inheritance we may create many other classes and many other classes by using parent class or by using some base class only. The base class is called as a parent class or a base class. The parented class is called as the inherited class or the children class. So this is another simple example of using this inheritance concept. So shape, for example, shape is a class or some property or some class. There are many types of shapes are available, like circle, rectangle and others. So but all these three children or all these three classes have the all the properties of shape class. Shape is a parent class or base class, and circle, rectangular and others are generally parent class. Generally they can be formed or they can be evolved or they can be formed with parent or base class. So all these are different examples of different types of inheritances, in C++ or any other object oriented programming. So one inheritance, a single inheritance, multiple inheritance and multi-level inheritance, like that. So these are the different types of inheritances. In the single inheritance, in the first diagram, A to B, we write it as A to B. Here A is the parent class or base class, B is called as a child class, or children class. So B is formed with class A. Second one is A, B, C. Here we are using three classes, A, B and C, and C, B and C are formed with from A, class A, and C is again formed with class B. So classes B and C have the properties of they have some common properties with class A, whereas class C is having properties of both A and B, like that. So this is multiple inheritance. First one is called as single inheritance, whereas the second one is called as multiple inheritance. And in the third example, class A is parent class or base class is A, and B and C are subclasses or children classes, and B and C subclasses or children classes are formed or having some common properties with class A. Here class A is parent class, whereas the class B and C are class A is the parent class or base class, class B and C are some children class or child classes. And in the fourth example, there are two parent classes A and B, and from using these A and B, a new class or a new children class C is derived. So here there are two base classes or parent classes are used, whereas one new class is C is used. Generally these children or child classes have all or some of the properties of their parent classes. The fifth one is class A, class B and D. Here it is also another example of multiple inheritance. So here class A is the parent class or base class. From that, two derived classes B and C are formed. Again from B, class D is derived. So B, D are children classes, whereas A is a parent class. So these are the examples. So how to use public, private, protected inheritances or public, private, protected classes. And so what are public, private and protected? Means generally all C++ data items or data variables or data items or classes are generally three types of types are available, generally public, private and protected. Public are generally means they can be accessed, these can be accessed from anywhere within the class or outside the class definition. Protected means private means they purely they can be available within the class definition only, they can't be accessed outside the class. So there are three types of classes or three types of data variables are available: public, protected and private. Public, protected and private. Public means we can access them, we can access the variables from anywhere from anywhere within the class. And protected means private means they can be the variables or data items are can be available within the function itself. And protected means they can be purely available and they can't be accessed without any permission. So these are the different types of access specifiers. They are called as access specifiers: public, private, protected. Next is polymorphism and overloading. Polymorphism and overloading. Another important word or term or feature of C++ is polymorphism and overloading. Means ability to take more than one form. Poly means more than one form. Polymorphism means we can use a single class in a different way. Polymorphism means we can use the same class in a different varieties of way. So typically occurs when there is a hierarchy of classes related by inheritance. Simply implies that call to a member function will cause a different object. It is a property by which the same message can be sent to the objects of different classes. So draw a shape. Shape means draw a shape. Shape means generally box, rectangle, circular and move like that. Need. Why we require polymorphism or overloading? It simplifies the programming interface. It permits conventions to be established that can be reused, and instead of inventing a new name, the programming interface can be described as a set of abstract behaviors. So polymorphisms can work with two methods: compile time and runtime. Compile time have function overloading, they are called as function overloading and operator overloading, whereas runtime polymorphisms are called as virtual functions. So function overloading. What is a function overloading? Function overloading means we may use the same function definition. We may use the same what is function overloading? Function overloading means we may use the same definition. We may use the same function definition for variety of ways. Means we can use the same name of the function name with different return values, with the different number of arguments with or parameters, or with the different number of parameters, different number of we may change the number of arguments or parameter values. We may change their return values, we may change their we may change the total number of arguments within passed within into a function. So we may change the total definition, but we are using the same function name. So what is function overloading? We may use the same function name with variety or with different number of return values, function definition returns, and with different different number of function arguments or function parameters passed into them. So simple example is sum. For example, sum of 10 comma 20 comma 30 means it returns, it is a sum, it is a simple function to find out the sum of three numbers. We may use the same function for to find out the sum of two numbers, three numbers, four numbers. Means we can change the number of arguments within it, and we can use the same function with instead of using decimal numbers, or instead of using some these numbers, we may also return some use some floating point numbers also, means real numbers also we may use, means sum of 1.2 comma 3.4, like that. Means we may use decimal numbers as well as floating numbers, real numbers. We may change the number of arguments or parameters. We may change the number of return we may change we may also change the return values of their function, like that. So we may return or continue in the next class.